and welcome to People in Power. I'm Barbara Serra. On today's program, the value of a life.
I feel today that the lives of our citizens in Israel aren't worth much, and the soldier is above the law.
How much is a life worth? Well, in the case of one 22-year-old Israeli soldier, we may soon know the answer. Gilad Shalit was captured by Hamas in an audacious raid on June the 25th, 2006. He's been held ever since as a bargaining chip against the release of thousands of Palestinians held in Israeli jails. For Israel, Shalit personified a key tenet of its armed forces, that no soldier can ever be abandoned. But Tel Aviv's predictably furious military response failed to get Shalit back, and the prisoner exchange was left as the only option. 1 year on from Israel's war on Gaza, Zeina Awad has been following the negotiations in a case that symbolizes the huge rift at the heart of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
Gilad Shalit, a 22-year-old captured Israeli tank gunner. Hamas has been holding him for over 3 years. He's a regular soldier, but the terms and circumstances surrounding his case have come to symbolize the enormous rift at the heart of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
للناس الحلوة العسل إن شاء الله يكونوا مبسوطين كل عام وانتم بخير بالحب والأشواق أرسلنا السلام إلى أسود في سجون الظلام قد خطر إخوانهم وأهلهم على جناح الطير.
It's the first day of Eid al-Adha in Gaza. Jamil is waiting for her turn to send her son Tha'er a radio message. He's been in a jail inside Israel since 1988. Jamil and her family are a little more hopeful this Eid because they have reason to believe Tha'er's days behind bars may be numbered, as the long-awaited Gilad Shalit prisoner exchange deal could soon set him free.
Salam alaikum, Tha'er, and to all your friends and the other prisoners. I really miss you. I miss your words. I miss your laugh. I miss your smile. I hope I can see your face again.
The airwaves are the only means of communication she has with her son. She says he's serving out a 30-year sentence for his role in the murder of an Israeli woman. He was 16 at the time.
I used to tell him to calm down. I was worried about him. He was just a child. But he'd tell me that the resistance is what he wanted, that I should leave him to it. I used to hear that he would write graffiti, set out nails for the jeeps, cover his face, you know.
Like hundreds of other Palestinians trapped in Gaza, Jamil has not seen her son since Israel began restricting visits after Shalit was captured.
I'm standing on Gaza's eastern border, and just behind me is Israel. You can probably see the watchtower over there. Now, we can't get any closer to it because of the security situation. We've already heard Israeli drones fly overhead. Now, this Israeli tower looks like any other regular one, but it's arguably the most famous one here in Gaza.
On June the 25th, 2006, armed Palestinians dug a tunnel to the outpost and carried out an operation that left 2 Israeli soldiers and 2 Palestinian fighters dead. The Palestinian fighters who survived returned home with Gilad Shalit. Then a 19-year-old Israeli doing his military service. From now on, a key bargaining chip. And one that provides insight into Hamas's tactics against Israel's superior military might.
The capture of soldiers is in essence a military operation, but its goals are humanitarian and just, especially when you consider that Israel holds more than 11,000 Palestinians prisoner. 20 years of peace negotiations have not secured the release of these prisoners, especially those with long sentences. All the peaceful methods have failed to end their imprisonment. so the resistance had no choice but to do what it can to gain their freedom.
هؤلاء الأسرى وتحريرهم من داخل القيد.
The factions behind Shalit's capture offered information about him in exchange for the release of all women and young detainees in Israeli jails. Ehud Olmert, Israel's prime minister at the time, initially rejected their demands outright. Instead, he launched the first of many attacks aimed at freeing the soldier. Still, Shalit remained in captivity. Then came the negotiations. With Egypt as a mediator, the two sides came close to a breakthrough on a number of occasions.
There is progress since the Israeli side approved the number of Palestinian prisoners to be released in exchange for Shalit. But there is still discussion regarding the names and case types of those who will be released.
Regarding the soldier Shalit, this is a very sensitive issue, and we have to treat it with very serious sensitivity in order to free him.
The Security Cabinet decided unanimously that Gilad Shalit will be the first demand of Israel before any arrangement with Egyptian or with Hamas.
But a deal is yet to be clinched. The ongoing back and forth has turned into an emotional roller coaster for the families on both sides.
They make all these promises. This ambassador comes and that ambassador goes and this foreigner comes, and it's all useless. Every time they meet, they say they're going to resolve it, but then things get complicated. I swear I feel in shock. I don't know what to think anymore. I just want them to be successful, because their success will win our son's release. His life has been wasted in jail.
The family is, is waiting. It's kind of stress, and they are not. I wouldn't say that they are optimistic, because we were in few junctions on the way in these 3.5 years that we were close to something and nothing happened.
Hamas has not allowed the Shalits to have any direct contact with their son, a clear violation of international law, and one that mirrors the fate of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Shalit's parents have heard from their son 3 times in over 3 years. An audio message in 2007, a letter in 2008, and this, a 3-minute video proving he's alive and well. Released in October of this year, in exchange for the freedom of 20 female Palestinian prisoners. An equation that questions the value of an Israeli life versus a Palestinian one. There are around 10,000 Palestinian prisoners languishing in Israeli jails. A number of Israeli and Palestinian human rights organizations say hundreds of them are under so-called administrative detention. Incarceration without a charge and without a trial. Their families continue to hold weekly sit-ins at the International Red Cross, rain or shine.
حلقاته 5 سنوات واعتقلوه من غاد كنت شايفه كمان 6 سنوات 11 سنة ما شفتوش. قديش محكوم عليه؟ مدى الحياة 99 4 مرات و16 سنة وبينزلوه محاكم يزيدوا الحكم. ما في يعني اتصالات؟ فيش اتصالات لحتى الآن ما بعرف. اتصالات ما بعرف. ولا كتابة ولا شيء. رسائل بالراسل، لما يطلع أسير، لما يبعث رسالة، أما عن طريق بريد، عن طريق صليب ما بوصل. له 3 سنوات البريد ما وصل لي والصليب ما بيوصل ولا رسالة.
There are many more families with similar stories. In contrast, there's only one Israeli held, Gilad Shalit, the young soldier who is set to be exchanged for hundreds of Palestinians.
It's not a question of fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. If you would ask me what is fair, fair is 1-to-1. But I think in this area, we give to the life a kind of price that some other people in the world, maybe they don't.
If 1-to-1 is considered a fair exchange, then why has Israel repeatedly signed off on uneven swaps involving hundreds of Palestinian and Arab prisoners in exchange for a handful of Israelis?
Gilad Shalit symbolized maybe the consensus or the very basic that the Israeli army was established upon 62 years ago, or even before there was an Israeli army, and even before the country or the state of Israel was established. It's a kind of mythos that we were raised upon it, that we will never let an Israeli soldier, even if he's dead or wounded or kidnapped, just for himself. This was maybe, you know, if we have 10 commandments in the army, this is the first one. And the Israeli army, unfortunately, is a compulsory army. Everyone must go. And it's unwritten agreement between the government and between the army and these young soldiers who are going to risk their life, to do everything they can in order to fulfill what they have to do. But they know that in the right moment, the army will stand next to them.
It is this belief, coupled with the high-profile campaign to free Shalit, that rallied Israelis behind their country's commitment to bring Shalit home. Gilad's father internationalized the campaign, bringing on board some heavy hitters and keeping up pressure on his government.
You
don't have all the time in the world, Prime Minister Olmert. Gilad's life is in danger. If the foot dragging goes on, it's possible that there will be no one to save.
But there are Israelis who are questioning how far their government should go in honoring that commitment. Ora Regev's son was killed in October 2003 when a bomb ripped through Maxim's, a popular restaurant in Haifa.
I stepped into the morgue at Rambam Hospital to identify my son. His body all covered with blood. With metal shrapnel all over his body, his head wounded. He was critically wounded.
The men convicted in the bombing are among those Ora says have too much blood on their hands to ever be released.
The public was brainwashed into saying that Gilad Shalit should go free at any price. It doesn't make sense that a mother who has seen her child murdered would agree that his killer will be free after 3-4 years, will marry, will continue his terrorist activities. 180 Israelis were killed by terrorists that were freed in earlier deals. I feel today that the lives of our citizens in Israel aren't worth much, and the soldier is above the law. A soldier is above everything, above the state. My son was simply a citizen, and Gilad Shalit is a soldier. I'm not sure if they murdered 1,300 soldiers and bombed them, the state of Israel would have let their killers go free.
And it's not just among Israeli society that this prisoner exchange is questioned. Israel's strategy of military incursions and economic punishment as a pressure tactic on Hamas to release Shalit has left many Palestinians wondering whether the price they're being made to pay is too high.
Our homes were destroyed. We lost land because of Shalit. Hundreds of people were killed. Hundreds more were detained after the capture of Shalit. So you want to tell me that this Israeli soldier means this much to our nation and to the rest of the world? No, he doesn't. Shalit is not worth all the suffering that the Palestinian people have had to endure. Our children inside the Israeli jails are enduring double the suffering because of Shalit. They've been denied visits and they've been denied the extra food we used to send them.
But Shalit's capture is a prize for Hamas, and one it celebrates proudly. Hamas supporters reenacted his entire capture at a rally marking the movement's 21st birthday last year. From the moment he was seized inside Israel and brought across the border through his ongoing confinement in Gaza. The rally was also a time to commemorate Palestinians still behind Israeli bars, shedding light on the names and faces of hundreds of prisoners. Palestinians, Hamas believes, must be freed. Osama al-Zaini is a member of the Hamas team negotiating the prisoner exchange deal. Having spent close to 7 years in Israeli jails, he's intimately familiar with the plight of the prisoners. And those 7 years have done nothing to alter his views.
When it comes to the siege, the Israeli enemy has always besieged the Palestinian people, before Shalit and after Shalit. There is no doubt that the siege was tightened after the capture of Shalit. But the oppression of our people here and in the West Bank is not because of him, but because this occupier is an oppressive occupier that wants to pressure our people. Now, to say that our people have suffered since this capture and to ask whether our prisoners deserve this, the answer is yes, they deserve this sacrifice. Do our prisoners not deserve a moment of loyalty from us? Do they not deserve that we go a little hungry to win their freedom after they have given everything for the homeland? They deserve the price we have paid, because gaining the freedom of our prisoners deserves that we sacrifice our lives and not just to go hungry.
1 in 5 Palestinians have at one point been incarcerated in Israeli jail since the occupation began in 1967. That's according to Al-Damir, a Palestinian organization for prisoners' rights. Gaza's walls pay tribute to them. Graffiti speaking volumes about love, death, occupation, and the longing for the sons and daughters in Israeli jails. For most Palestinians, these prisoners are considered freedom fighters engaged in the struggle against the occupation. But Israel insists these prisoners have blood on their hands, a charge al-Zaini takes issue with.
We say that the occupation's hands are also full of blood. Gilad Shalit himself has blood on his hands. Gilad Shalit was actually inside a tank in a military base on the border with Gaza at a time when Israeli tanks were continuously shelling Gaza. There was a period when every minute Israelis would shell Gaza, specifically on the border areas, so that individuals could not launch rockets. And during this period, when the operation took place, he was inside his tank. What was he doing inside the tank? I doubt he was eating nuts and sunflower seeds.
At this point, Hamas has been quite tight-lipped about the Hamas representatives who have arrived in Egypt in the last hour.
In late November, news broke once again that a prisoner exchange deal could take place, and negotiations stepped up, with Germany and Egypt acting as mediators. Shalit's parents were refusing to speak to the media.
They were expecting about 1,400 Palestinian prisoners to come out.
But their spokesperson told us that this time around, there could be a breakthrough.
Somehow we are hopeful, because it's the first time that we hear that from many places, from many directions, that something is happening. And as far as we know, since the German came inside to try to find a solution, that's a situation that both sides it will be difficult for them to refuse. It will not be an easy meeting after 3.5 years, but I can imagine that we will cry a little bit. It's about time. After 3.5 years, the right to cry is about time. And then they will go on to the real life. I hope so.
The mothers did not know whether their sons would be released. Still, they were hoping the decades of being apart could soon come to an end.
I bought new blankets. I was really excited that I might see my sons soon. And now I have everything I need for their arrival. I just want them to come out.
We want our kids to come out. When we heard that the prisoner swap was about to go through, we got ready to see our sons again. Many mothers have painted their homes and cleaned and prepared for their sons' arrival.
But the week of Eid came and went, and it turned out to be another false alarm, as rumors of an imminent deal proved to be unfounded.
I don't think there are, many words that you can describe a family in this, in such a situation. They will stay alive, and they will go on making their life, but in a way that a family can be sad and desperate. That's all what I can guess. I can only imagine what I would feel if I will go on counting the days.
The one-year anniversary of the war on Gaza has once again put the spotlight on the blockade. Hamas insists that easing the siege must be part of any exchange deal, and it says its fight to get Palestinian prisoners out will continue, even if a Shalit swap is done.
For 10 years, as Palestinian parties have been negotiating with Israel, we demanded that this issue be placed as a priority, but the Zionist enemy refuses this. So, we naturally moved on to capturing Israeli soldiers through the resistance, and we will continue to do so as long as there are Palestinian prisoners inside Israeli jails.
And while debate over the terms and numbers of a Shalit prisoner exchange deal continues to brew in Israel, the Israeli government is determined to keep the majority of Palestinian prisoners behind bars, paving the way for yet more controversial exchanges in the future.
Well, that's it for this edition of People and Power. If you'd like to comment on Zeina Awad's film or any other matter, you can contact us on aljazeera.net/English. Until next time, bye-bye.